Well, hello everybody. It is Saturday, January 10th, and I was just calling in the Archangels today, as I normally do, to be able to give a sense of joy and commitment to peace, love, and light. Sort of a reminder, actually, right, of where we want our focus to be, because we don't necessarily want to fall into the trap of feeling as if there are insurmountable odds against us as individuals or with our families. There needs to be some kind of joy or peace that we can find day to day. Otherwise, we end up feeling like, what's the point? Like, oh, why does any of this really matter? And if we start feeling like that, we can start making less, um well, I don't know how to say it exactly, but, like, we'll say, like, less informed choices for ourselves, and when we make poorer choices for ourselves, that ultimately has ripple effects and ends up damaging those people around us as well. So if we're too angry, too upset, too depressed, um, then we actually are depleting our resources, and the time that we're spending with others can be less than cherished. And as we all know, the hours and days go by quickly. So whatever your feelings are about world events, of course it's okay to have you have your absolute right to have your true feelings and your experiences about that. On the other hand, you want to balance that with the ordinariness of life. One, maybe it could be said that one type of resistance is to live an ordinary life in spite of the whirlwind of emotions, the politics that are hanging around right now. What do you guys think? Feel free to make a comment, put a comment in the chat section. So I'm going live tonight, partly because I've made a commitment to Archangel Michael, to the archangels, to bring their light into this world. This this light is much needed now. I won't say more than ever, as there certainly have been many times in the world where conditions are ripe for more love and more light, and especially the divine branches of love that support us on this planet, on this earth. And in these confusing times, I've thought, why not go live more regularly, letting people comment and share your experiences, your hopes, things you might be feeling distraught about, and bring those forward, and we can ask the archangels your questions, see what their answers are. A lot of this is, of course, not about me personally. I'm feeling as though my days branch out in many different directions as I go to work and attend to my friends, my family, and my just needs for rest or house cleaning or doing my laundry, while keeping up with the current events and the state of things. I'm consistently checking in with the angels throughout the day, bringing in their awareness and their guidance into my awareness so that I'm able to become my best self. I'm really interested in being the best person I can be day to day and minute to minute. Sometimes that translates as learning how to be more patient with people whose personalities I might have conflict with. That happens. And when there are those kind of conflicts, I typically feel as if I want to be in control or be the one who is right. And then also, of course, there's that's happening on the global level as well, right? Whereas so many people want to be the ones who are right. And uh, then there are the ones who are wrong. And it's so obvious, right, that there are many different variables to weigh in on any situation, any occurrence, whether it's in the news cycle or at the gas pump. In fact, the other day, I was getting gas and was definitely feeling a little tight on my budget as I'm rounding the corner to the my biweekly paycheck. Um, and for no reason that I could ascertain anyway, the person who was at the register literally gave me $5 in free gas. That was such a kind thing that he did. He certainly did not have to do that. I've never had that happen before. I mean, never in all my days have I received $5 in free gas from a total stranger at a gas station. Um, it was amazing. And although some people might not call that a miracle, maybe taking a moment to reflect on the smallest things being a miracle, that felt like a miracle to me. It also felt like a sign, like keep going, a keep going sign, like literally having some extra gas in my tank, uh, but also metaphorically to keep going. And I want to share that message with you all tonight too. It's just this idea of keeping going. Uh, don't give up. Don't believe those naysayers who are angry and bitter themselves and who create quite the fuss about ideologies and maybe paranoias or even conspiracies. Just trust your instincts and trust your intuition. The more normal things feel, sometimes that can be where the magic happens, whether that's inside or in external events. There can be a certain kind of magic that happens when you're just doing normal day to day things. Another example of that happened when I was just running a few errands, and this was a couple of months back now, not as much of a recent event, but I was just out running errands, and there was a young family whose car had broken down, and they were parked behind a gas station with the hood open and younger, well, I guess he was probably, maybe he was 18 or 17-year-old. I assume it was the son, was underneath the car trying to ascertain what the problem was with the vehicle. And it was a very cold night, and the sun was just setting, and the it was raining, but it was turning to sleet and ice. And I just asked if they needed any help, and they were not sure. They thought that maybe it was the starter on the vehicle that had gone out, leaving them stranded. Um, and because they spoke a different language, and of course, things right now are so uh, challenging in terms of anybody who's different in the United States. I've stepped in to help translate for them and helped decode the problems so that they were able to leave their vehicle safely at that property, and they had somebody else come pick them up, and it all ended well. And to be honest, I would have been happy to put them up in a hotel nearby if that's what they needed, or whatever they needed. I was willing to help. And that feeling, although it turned out that my help wasn't really that needed or necessary, to me it felt good just to let other people on this planet, on this earth, know that they were not alone, and that there was a person who was willing to take time out of their busy day to lend a hand. And it is those small things that I think of as just a moment of grace, which is something that the archangels talk to me about a lot over all the years, that these moments of grace don't go unnoticed by the angels. They see and they hold space for, and they witness and connect as much as they can through these moments of intentional caring for other people or animals or plants or space or home, or giving freely of ourselves. That's a choice. That is part of free will, is that we can give freely of ourselves to others. Each of us can choose not to do that, or we can choose to do that. And my experience has been that when I choose to step into that place of giving, or openness to giving at least, it's a win-win, where I end up feeling better about myself as a person. And also, of course, maybe the person that's receiving the help is grateful and feels sincere support in some way. Maybe you've had moments in your lives where you've had that ability to get out of the entanglement of your own thoughts, or just busyness of life, and slow down enough to really help someone or be present with someone. If you have, feel free to share in the comment section. We're always interested in wonderful stories like that of connection and divine choreography. I do feel like the angels try to help us as much as they can to bring us to a place of connection where we can be our authentic and sincere selves, whether we're at work or with family, with friends, with acquaintances, or even out grocery shopping or driving. There's like a million. I always feel like there's so many opportunities every single day to become more resonant with love and peace in ourselves, or in myself, um, and bring that to the forefront, so that there's not a separation of just like one day going to church and that's the day that we act and behave as if we're holy, and other days we're just on a life adventure, kind of at our whim, doing what it is that we wish and want. um, but when we combine our desire to be loving, giving individuals into our day to day, it helps slow things down so that mentally, well, for me at least, then I can pause and think about what it is that I really do want to bring to each moment in each interaction. How do I want people to see me is one question, but also how do I want to see myself, like when I look in the mirror at the end of the day? Do I want to see someone who has shouted at my children, or been rude to a customer, or cut someone off in traffic, or whatever? I don't know. There's so many different ways of just being unthinking out in the world. Or do I want to look in the mirror and see someone who has been intentional, thoughtful, kind, or pleasant? So it is these moments of grace that bring our authentic selves out. And by all means, it doesn't mean that we have to be perfect, for sure. So it's not about being perfect. It really is just about our intention and slowing down and becoming intentional about being respectful or kind to others. As you're bringing yourself and your thoughts to this place today, or whenever you are listening to this, just think about standing on a platform that's just a little bit higher than everyone else. Just imagine for a minute that there you are, standing on a platform, and people are around you and they're looking at you, wondering what you will say next, what you will do next, how you see them. Maybe they're wondering, well, how do you perceive them? And allow yourself just for a minute to be the most important person in the room. Just give yourself that moment and relax into that thought. In some ways, this is not about ego. It is really about letting a defiant self that always wants to be heard. It feels as if, maybe there's parts of you that may feel as if nobody really listens to you, or what I say doesn't matter. You might think those thoughts. So if you take a minute and just imagine that you really are absolutely the most important person in the room, just for a few minutes, and people are waiting with bated breath to hear what you are going to say next. Maybe just having those few moments of imagining that allows you to step down off the pedestal. It allows you to breathe a little more deeply and slowly, maybe feeling a bit more centered in your body. little bit more grounded. And there you are, no different than others in the room, wanting to be heard, wanting to be knowing or knowledgeable, wanting your opinion to matter. And that's okay. Your opinion does matter, but also so do others' opinions matter. What's under the surface is often the most difficult to understand. So, if somebody is speaking in a punitive voice, wanting to punish, or is angry or irate, it can be difficult to understand what's underneath because the instant reaction is to defend, to not connect, the opposite of connection, to create distance from. And so, how do you stay present while breathing, connecting, listening to another who is angry, aggravated, or intense, and maybe blaming you or threatening to leave or to cut off communication? I mean, there's a distance that has to be covered, but it can be covered quickly when you realize that there is something under the surface. Typically, if you see a strong reaction in somebody, there's usually something else there that is reflective of the past for them in their lives. If people were more aware of what it was that was driving those driving, motivating forces behind their quote unquote logic, there would be more understanding between people, even with highly differing opinions about things. So, take the justice system, for example, and how it works well for some people who have money and can hire attorneys, highfalutin attorneys, and then others who are not as well off, and therefore the legal system doesn't work as well for some of those people. So, depending on where you are on those scales, you may have a different feeling about justice. And if you see something playing out in the news cycle that's very apparent in a reflection of what you have experienced, you might subconsciously be drawn into those stories, weighing more heavily on what your own experience has been, though that isn't necessarily the subject or what is talked about, if that makes sense. Well, I want to thank you all for listening in today, or if you're catching this at a later time. I appreciate all of you. We'll try to do this again next week and have some conversations with the angels. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions for Archangel Michael or others.